On today's hot sheet, I'm discussing housing inventory, pending home sales, and the latest PCE report. Today is Monday, July 1st, 2024. I'm Byron Lazine, and the hot sheet starts now. All right, welcome into the hot sheet here as we kick off a 3-day week, Thursday being the 4th of July holiday. We will be running the hot sheet Monday through Wednesday. We do this every single day that the markets are open on a Monday through Thursday schedule, 9:30 on the East, 6:30 on the West. Sorry for the bumps last week. It was a crazy week. I had a little bit of travel. Bobby and I were setting up the new studio in Naples, which you saw maybe a little bit of a peak on. I think that was Monday. And then we had an 18-hour delay in our travel into Dallas for the 1,000-watt conference. Sorry about the 1,000-watt hot sheet. The Wi-Fi was terrible. And sorry about the cancellation. So lots of apologies for last week. Just a bumpy road on the hot sheet. But we're going to be fine here today. I'm sitting in my Connecticut studio all week. Happy to say I don't think I have any travel for the month of July, for the first month this year. So looking for a strong month as we kick off quarter three. I mentioned it today on the 5 a.m. call. It's a call I've been doing for, 8 or 9 years, 5amcall.com. I mentioned this morning on the 5 a.m. call that this day right here, the start of quarter three, happens to be on a Monday. Pretty clean way to start quarter three. Quarter three has 92 days in it, and 64 of them, when you subtract holidays, are work weekdays, a Monday through Friday. So if you're looking, and this is before people go on vacations and all this stuff, if you're looking to make something happen here in quarter three, you've got 64 days. If you're looking to make any B2B or an impact with an employee or something like that. So when you think about your quarter three, think about how few opportunities you may really have here to make the impact on your business that you want. You can check out the rest of that on 5 a.m. call podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, if you're interested in that story. But let's get into what we are here for, how we kick off every single Monday or beginning of the week here on the hot sheet. And that's with an update on inventory. Been rooting for a long time for inventory to consistently grow. And we're finally at that pace where we keep seeing it now week over week grow in a healthy, meaningful way. Okay, if we take a look at the Altos research data, weekly inventory for the past week rose from 634,000 plus to 645,000. It's an 11,000 gain on active inventory. The same week last year, we saw inventory rise from 460,000 to 466,000. So we're currently sitting at 38% more than last year at this time. We're 1 week away from the intersection between 2024 this year and 2020, when we surpass 2020's inventory levels. Now, of course, from this time till the end of the year in 2020, we saw inventory in the decline. People started coming out of their homes, out of their basements. For me, it was out of the closet, but not maybe the way you're thinking. I was literally during COVID working in my closet. Okay. So a lot of us were coming out or a lot of our consumers rather were coming out of those different situations. And you saw inventory start to decline as people were making those purchases. Okay. So we're going to have that inflection point, that intersection point here, likely next week. The following week was 654,000. We're at 645. So if we get the same amount we had this week, we're going to be a couple thousand more on inventory nationally than at the same point we were in 2020. Still, obviously, pretty significantly off the path here for 2019. First week of July was 957,000. Last week of June was 976,000. We're sitting here at 645. So 300 something thousand less than 2019, but 38% more than last year. Once we cross over 2020, it'll be more than at any point in the last 3 years. and we are gaining considerably week over week on inventory, getting to a really more normalized place. With those increases in inventory, we're seeing sellers have to make difficult decisions. Okay, 38% of sellers right now, 37.55 to be exact, are percent of properties that are have a recent price reduction. Okay, this is single family homes. Okay, so we're seeing more price reductions than we saw at this point in 22 and in 23. 23 was 32%, 22 is 31. About 33% is normal. So we're above normal on price reductions. The people who do need to sell in this market are going to the market and realizing there is some hesitancy in the market. There's some buyers that are putting a little bit of a pause on some of their searches. Okay. So, with that, if you're a serious seller and you feel like you missed the spring market and you really got to get it done, you're in a timeline. Maybe you got to get the school thing figured out. You're into July now and you've got to get it done. You're going to reduce the price if you're a serious seller. Okay. These homeowners that are doing 38% of them price reductions in your market, you're working with a buyer. These are the ones that I probably, hey, I know this is maybe 10 minutes outside of where you've been looking and 10 minutes outside of where you want to, primarily be in a best case scenario. But this homeowner just reduced their price. And what that tells us in this market, when we have record prices and an expectation with a lot of sellers that they're going to set the next record, what this tells me is that this homeowner is somebody who's serious. They want to get the deal done. They want to finish the job. And that's why they've reduced to the market, and they've signaled out that they are a willing negotiating partner. So let's go take a look at this and just open our mind to the opportunity that this may be something, if the price is right, that works for us, that fits for us. Let's go just take a look with an open mind. And we've already got the signal that they're an open negotiating partner. Maybe we can negotiate a deal that is so good that it's too good to almost turn down. Okay. Going back here on our report, here's an interesting one. Well, before we get to that, let's just take a look at our new listings. We look at the new listings, obviously, every single week as well. New listing data from Altos Research. New listings coming in at 70,600 plus. Last year was 61,000, so well off of the record lows, but 22 was 90,000. Normally, you'll get 80 to 100,000 in a normal year, so we're still a little bit below that, but obviously well above 2023 levels, which is where we want to see these numbers coming in. All right. This one's interesting. This one's new here, is the coming soon pre-listings single family homes. So as we look at new listing data, hopefully to drive further inventory into the market and options that aren't stale and the options that are obviously fresh for buyers, we like to take a look at a pre-indicator on coming soon, so and see if there's going to be even more new listings coming in the future. But that's not showing us to be the case right now. New listing or coming soon pre-listings are plateauing, even declining right now. Look at 2022 levels compared to today. 2022 levels were much higher when we saw new listings taken at a higher rate as well. So the indication is that we can't expect a significant boom in new listings. We're almost down to 23 levels on pre-listings. This is an indicator of how many, obviously, we could get in the future. So not looking good for future new listings here as we go through the summer. Maybe a little bit of a pause. And then obviously, as I look at, and we're going to look at the 10-year here in a little bit, as I look at the 10-year today, the 10-year and the 30-year might be popping a little bit here this week, potentially not helping us. Here are the new listing data over the last or the 5 years leading up to 2020. Again, in that 80 to 100,000 range, but nothing like the 2009 to 2012 levels when you'd see 300 plus thousand homes being listed in a week. Speaking of those years, 09 to 12, if you missed my interview with Stacy Sutter, CEO of Summit VA, virtual assistant company, you need to go check that out. It's here on the main channel. I did it last week when I was on the road in Texas. He was the #1 REO broker in Houston. He was the largest. And he goes into what he thinks could be coming on foreclosures. It was a very interesting conversation. If you like the hot sheet, you're going to love this conversation around where the market is heading. And if maybe Haley, if you want to link that up, but it is here on the main channel in the video section. I think we went live with it on Wednesday. Haley will link it up here in the live chat for you. And then if you're listening on replay, Haley will make sure it's on the link down below for everybody in the replay notes as well. But if you like the data, if you like what we talk about here on the hot sheet, the projections, you're going to love this interview I did with Stacy, particularly around his thoughts on what's going to happen with foreclosures. And there's a correlation, obviously, of foreclosures and on pricing. So I'd encourage you, somebody with a lot of experience in that world for many years during the last foreclosure boom, shared his thoughts with us, and I'd encourage you to go look for that. All right, more data here on new listings and inventory can be found inside of your BAMX hot sheet show notes. Inside of BAMX, I release the show notes from this show each and every single day. Here are today's show notes. They're robust. We have so many BAMX members copy and pasting this data and using it in their follow-up, their text messages, their emails, their conversations with clients. Today alone, not only do you have the show notes, but you have 15 different charts inside of BAMX. So use code HOT to get 10% off if you are not a member today, and make sure you have access to the daily hot sheet show notes, as well as all of our slides, the community, and all of our new courses. Today, we have a new course that drops as well, being the start of the month. Every month, we release a new course inside of BAMX. NAR every single month releases their pending home sale data. Pending home sales in May dropped again across the country to 2.1% off of April. NAR right now is forecasting 4.26 million existing home sales, and the median price they're projecting will increase to an annual high of $405,300 in 2024. Month-over-month contract signings declined in the Midwest and the South, but they increased in the Northeast and the West. Northeast being particularly where inventory is the lowest. Okay. The index, which in the year 2001, before the great increase in home prices and before the boom, the index for pending home sales was a 100. That's where they set the number. 2001 equals 100. An index above 100 coincides with a higher level of activity relative to 2001. So anything under 100 on the pending sales index would have lower activity than 2001. Yes, 23 years ago. Right now, we sit lower than that number at 70.8. Month over month, again, down 2.1%. And here are your regional metrics. Midwest coming in at 70.4, down 0.4% month over month. Northeast at 63.6 month over month, up 1.1%, 63.6 and 56.7 in the West, but the West also up 1.4%. Those are the lowest of the regions, the Northeast and the West. West is almost half of the level of contracts relative to 2001. So really the recession in real estate is being hit by total number of transactions, not prices right now. South at 83.7 on the index, month over month down 5.5. So the South, which has seen the healthiest, healthiest amount of transactions, is being hit the hardest here month over month as inventory increases and the buyers are starting to cool off a little bit there. Okay, that's your pending home sale data from NAR, just released here in the last week. Okay, last Friday, we had a couple of economic reports that were released. The PCE, which is the Fed's favorite number, was released, their favorite measure of inflation, I should say. The PCE key Fed measure shows that inflation rose 2.6 in May from a year ago. But the punchline is that is as expected. Okay. The core PCE increased to a seasonally adjusted 0.1% for the month, 2.6 again from the year ago. May marked the lowest annual rate since March 2021. It was the first time this economic cycle that inflation topped the Fed's 2% target, which that's going back to 21 in March. Personal income rose 0.5% on the month, stronger than the 0.4% estimate. Consumer spending, however, increased 0.2%, weaker than the 0.3% forecast. So still signs of an economy that is moving. Biggest takeaway here is the inflation number that the Fed likes to look at, that PCE, is showing signs of cooling off. It's not at the 2% target rate for the Fed, but the Fed doesn't need us to get to exactly to 2% to start cutting rates. They have to feel confident that that's the direction that we're heading. So a signal here that that is the direction that we're heading. Now, remember, we were lower in January and February, 2.5 and 2.5 January and February. So we're still not back there yet. Obviously, we saw that Q1 increase that on a lot of the inflation numbers across Q1. Now we're starting to see a decline. Love to continue to see that into the summer and start the narrative going into the second half of the year, going into the later half of the year. We're already now today officially on the other side of the second half, but the later half of the year, that the Fed should consider using that cut sooner than later. Of course, there is probably going to be growing interest from Washington to go get that cut before November, after last week's debate between the two presidential candidates. There's going to be political pressure to keep the economy strong, so those are numbers that the administration can obviously point towards. Just going a little bit further on the PCE price index, month over month, again down by less than 0.1%. Goods decreased by 0.4%. Services increased by 0.2%. Food increased by 0.1%. Energy prices decreased by 2.1%. Excluding food and energy, overall increased by 0.1%. And then year over year, we had the 2.6% increase. Goods decreased by 0.1%. Services increased by 3.9%. Food prices increased by 1.2%. Energy prices increased by 4.8%. Excluding food and energy, we had that 2.6%. That's the core. Okay. There you go. Taking a look now at where we might come in on the 30-year going into the start of a holiday week. We got to look at what the 10-year is doing, and the 10-year is up right now to 4.41. Just a week ago, we were in the 4.250 range, kind of been hovering around there. I'd say for, about half of the month, we were hovering around that 4.25. We do bounce up to this level quite a bit here lately. I would expect that the 30-year will probably react to that. We saw some slight tick ups from where we were sitting 7 for felt like a couple of weeks, and then ended the week at 7.07. Could be back above 7.1, maybe 7, 7 and 7.15, something like that here today. If the 10-year doesn't move, that would be a safe guess. The Freddie Mac 30-year fixed weekly last week came in at 6.86. I'm sorry. So 3 straight weeks there on the Freddie Mac 30-year fixed weekly survey under 7. We've been hovering just over 7, but could see a tick up there. And that is it here for your hot sheet starting Q3 of 2024, starting a holiday week off on this Monday. This is July 1st. I am absolutely thrilled and honored that you were able to join me here today. Share the hot sheet with somebody who can benefit from a 24-hour look back on the housing and real estate industry. each and every single day that the markets are open. I'll be with you guys the next 2 days on this holiday week, and I'm looking forward to every minute of it. Until then, have a great start of your week. And of course, toodaloo.